And now for an academic perspective on American Graduate Day, we're joined by Bob Balfanz, co-director of the Everyone Graduates Center at Johns Hopkins University. Dr. Balfanz, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Tell me a little bit about the center, its mission and approach.
Sure. The Everyone Graduates Center is trying to do three things. One, first, understand how big the dropout problem is in our nation. And we've been able to show that it's about 1 million kids per class that are not graduating, 1 out of 4. And then to show why that matters. And we show it matters because there's really no work in the 21st century if you don't have a high school diploma. So we're still consigning 1 out of 4 of our young adults really to a bleak future.
And then the last part has to be, how do we fix this?
Absolutely. So that's the next part of our mission. We try to figure out solutions, and then we test and make sure they work. And once we do, then we help others implement them.
I want to find out what works, but I'm curious what doesn't work.
Right.
Is there anything along the years you've been doing this that we've tried this approach and it's either not working or it's not productive relative to the investment in it?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that doesn't really work is to say, which is sort of a quiet attitude out there, that if kids don't want to graduate, what can we do? It's on them and their parents to get them to school and get them to graduate, and if they don't want to, why should we care? The reason we should care is that it impacts the whole society. Kids drop out of school but stay in the community, so the community bears that cost. And what we found is that kids actually drop out for a range of reasons, but many start signaling as early as the 6th grade. They stop coming to school regularly, they start getting in trouble, they start failing their classes, and you can't really put on a 12-year-old to say, it's on you to succeed. So that we really have to recognize there are things we can do to help them get to school, to help them behave appropriately and to succeed in their courses.
Are grades by themselves predictive?
They are very predictive, it turns out. That if you fail math or English in 6th grade and you live in a high-poverty environment, absent intervention, the odds that you will graduate in many cases are only 1 in 4.
So let's talk about interventions. What have you found that works?
Well, what we found is that it's really a multi-tiered approach. That first, we know that 50% of the nation's dropouts actually come from only 15% of its high schools and the middle schools that feed those high schools. And these are typically very overburdened schools that have many, many more needy students than they were designed to accommodate. So we actually have to transform those whole schools. Secondly, we have to recognize that the kids themselves need supports. Many need what we call nagging and nurturing. Someone to say, I'm so excited to see you in school today, and I expect to see you tomorrow, and if not, I'll come get you. And, oh, did you get your homework done? Are you sure? Because I know English is a little tricky. Let's check. And I know that you and Mr. Brown are having trouble. And I talked to him, and, he honestly thinks you're sarcastic. And I know you think he's mean. We got to work that out. That only takes 40 seconds. But there are going to be in some schools hundreds of kids that need that every day. And it's hard just to ask teachers alone to do that, as well as to teach their lesson. So we've had success in areas organizing sort of a second shift of adults to help kids with those issues they need to make sure they succeed in school.
You work with school systems around the country?
Yes.
How does Maryland stack up, either in terms of the dropout problem or the efforts that are being made to fix it?
Well, Maryland is interesting because Baltimore, we're in the city here, and Washington County out in the west have both made substantial progress over the last decade and are doing a lot of good, effective things. The state as a whole has actually been flat and actually hasn't made much progress. It's been very successful in other areas educationally, but it hasn't made that much of a dent in improving its graduation rate in the past decade.
I used the word fix before, that we could fix the problem. Obviously, we're not going to fix the problem. We can improve this situation. How do you see the end goal here? What would count as a ringing success?
Well, we're part of a national coalition of nonprofits and interested advocacy groups, and our goal is to get a national graduation rate of at least 90% by 2020, which has also been embraced by the president and others. And we're at 75% now. We recognize there's always going to be some kids that life's going to happen. They're going to have to work. They're going to get pregnant. It doesn't work for them. We're going to need recovery and second chances for them. But we have to make sure at least 9 out of 10 of our kids are graduating on time and are really prepared for college and career.
Can we just say that you have to stay in school? We're going to change the compulsory attendance age to 17 or 18?
Well, that's important symbolically because, to tell a kid, we want you in school, but legally, if you want to, you can drop out and no one can say different, sends a very mixed message. Raising the age alone is not going to solve the problem because it doesn't deal with the issues why kids are not succeeding in school. But I believe it's very important symbolically to say that since there's no work in the 21st century, if you don't have a high school diploma, we shouldn't say to you it's okay to leave before you have that preparation.
Is there a role for looking at curriculum here? Are some of these kids leaving because the math course doesn't speak to them, doesn't seem relevant at all?
Yeah, absolutely. There's room to make sure that there is a range of opportunities, different pathways to adult success for kids, not just one pathway. And one good pathway that needs more development is career and technical education. We know that, in fact, there are many middle skill jobs that are not filled, even in the height of this recession, that require technical training beyond high school. And we need to prepare more kids for that by having more career and technical activities in high schools.
How long have you been working on this?
I've been working on this issue for about 15 years.
After all that time, do you feel more optimistic, less optimistic looking forward?
I feel more optimistic. The nation's made some progress. The graduation rate has moved up from about 72 to 75%. The number of really low-performing high schools is down. And most importantly, we really do know what these early warning signs are now. And we know that early intervention matters. And we know much better how to do that.
Very good. Dr. Bob Balfanz is co-director of the Everyone Graduates Center at Johns Hopkins University. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
And you were watching American Graduate Day here on MPT.